In Game 2, Gojira's Wood Elves, led by Orion, tried to overwhelm Orion's laser dinos, but had a hard time getting past the defenses of the Chameleon Skinks, the Bastildon Solar Engines, and of course, Umbral Tide Regiment-renowned Salamanders. Despite some backline cavalry pressure, the Wood Elves just couldn't quite finish the job. Which takes us now to a critical Game 3 in which Gojira must win to survive in the series and move on to even a Game 4, and yes, must completely win out if he wants to win the series, obviously. So, let's take a look here at what Gojira's brought for his Greenskins into Orion's Wood Elves, fittingly enough, led by Orion. Let's take a look at the Greenie boys first, though. We've got a couple of Spider Rider archers about to eat some volleys there. Yeah, 3 Spider Rider archers, some Boar boys and Boar biggins, Squig herds, looks like stone trolls, 2 of them, 3 Squig herds, and goblins. I really like this Squigs plus goblins front line. It's very cheap, potentially, but what is it, like 500 650 points between these two together, which is very nice. On the other side, we've got a similar flanking force of Greenskins cavalry. For the Wood Elves, of course, like I said, Orion leading the way. We've got some Deepwood scouts here and a nice, dense missile pocket, as we have seen a few times from Orion. He's great at creating these missile densities to just give overwhelming firepower in a specific area. Very good tactic of concentrating missiles. Sisters of Thorn as well for support. Glade Riders, Dryads through the center, and some Eternal Guards with more Glade Riders, Sisters of Thorn. Supporting in various areas, Branch Wraith going to be the caster. Got a great mix of spells, of course, with Shadows and Life, 2 of the most essential and powerful common lores. Let's go ahead and take a look. Azag, of course, maybe not the best Greenskins Lord. I generally think that the Wyvern Lords are pretty poor. Also, someone recently pointed out to me that Skullmuncha seems to have lost his helmet from Warhammer 2, which I actually hadn't noticed before, but definitely can see once it's been pointed out. Azag's going to go ahead and roll an attack. Danger close to Orion. He's going to need to get back up in the air and flee away from that, but a nice Curse of Onraer is used on these Forest Goblin Spider Riders. A little bit overkill. They probably would have lost that fight anyway, and that's, of course, bound Curse of Onraer from the Sisters of Thorn, which only has a one-time use, using up that limited resources to get rid of a couple of cheap skirmish cap. I get, but again, they probably would have lost out in that engagement anyway. Looking like potential for disaster here, as well as Azag gets caught. Orion's in the immediate vicinity, but doesn't immediately respond, as it looks like Orion's prioritizing his micro elsewhere, but the Squig herds are able to get through, and just kind of the disruption of Goji's initial flank attack here then allows a lot of his mainline infantry force to kind of get side and rear attacks and definitely break up the Wood Elves formation very heavily. This then exposes these ranged units, which can get beautifully sandwiched in a brutal blobbering of Spider Riders and Wolf Riders. We see a little bit of Spirit Leech there out in the distance on Orion, as looks like Azag was able to escape through his Boars and Trolls there. Boars do get terrified away by Orion, but they should be back shortly. And we've got some Squig herds also coming back from their first route, looking like, yeah, this one still needs to be deployed for its first attack, but the Squigs should trade really nicely against the Dryads, especially with those Goblins in support. Big Wah going to be popped here as well. The Sisters of Thorn, despite their heavy physical resistance, probably don't want to be staying in this melee fight for too long. Looks like they are, in fact, going to pull away there, although a few of their unit models looks like are still caught up. Unfortunately, yeah, both units taking some damage, but nothing too crazy so far, and they're probably actually trading okay against the Spider Riders, at least. The Boar Biggins are going to be a bit tougher, but overall, mobility fight's going okay for the Wood Elves right there, but Greenskins are definitely rolling. Orion, of course, is going to be a tough cookie to crack, but a lot of the Wood Elves infantry has already been tied up or beaten down, or some combination of both. A little bit of Hounds of Orion there, and Sisters of Thorn do manage to survive. Of course, they also have access to healing, so if they can keep most of their unit models alive and not get completely caught out here, they could potentially get some nice stuff going. But definitely Orion, just with the ability to tear out massive areas And then, like, the Sisters of Thorn can follow up and get more or less free damage on these cavalry, right? So even though the Sisters were losing that initially, Orion helps it to turn it around for them. They're now going to get some nice damage in return on the Greenskins light cavalry. Keep this from getting too far. Greenskins are definitely ahead. Gojira's looking good on the balance of power right now, but could definitely change easily as Orion and those Sisters continue to fight out there. The problem is, though, as the Sisters kind of chase these routing units, the one especially gets away from Orion and now has to fight solo against all that light cavalry, which is definitely a tough prospect. But yeah, Squig herds doing their thing, helping to support against infantry here, and just the mass and mobility here. Excuse me. A little under the weather, guys, so I apologize. But yeah, mass and mobility here of the Greenskins doing incredible work, helping to clean up the Wood Elves, but they're not going quietly into that good night. Orion's still fighting here. He does have Cloak of Isha, I believe, so could be quite hard to kill in the late game. Yes, he does. So that extra healing and damage resistance makes him very tough to kill unless you have high burst damage, but we'll see. Greenskins' leadership issues could definitely come back to haunt them big time. One positive factor in their favor, though, is the fact that Azag is still quite healthy and alive. Looks like more Hounds of Orion going to be dropped here. They kind of jump through, disrupt, and damage Orcs as they pull away. Nice little dense pocket here formed up, but you can see Gojira's now in a position where he's cleaned up pretty much the entire periphery and focus all of his resources onto this central position right now, and it's looking quite dicey for the Wood Elves. Another Spear Leech coming in on Orion. Responded to very nicely with a Earthblood from the Branch Wraith. But the Trolls especially, I mean, magic resistance doesn't matter so much anymore, right? It's now spell resistance, so it doesn't apply against those Dryads. But still, if it's just Orion there at the end, yeah, it looks like Orion's going to face army losses here, which means it will be just him. And we'll fast forward. I don't think Orion's going to try and play that one out. I mean, although Orion could maybe chad through a lot of that, it's quite unlikely that he would kill literally everything there, especially if Azag manages more Spirit Leeches and whatnot. So a nice game by Orion, but Gojira manages to get that rush accomplished in fairly short order and get back in this series. So we'll have to watch for more replays throughout the rest of the week for them. Looking good, though. I like to see Greenskins versus Wood Elves. It's a very dynamic matchup. Greenskins' mass mobility definitely has worked very well in the past, in Game 1 and Game 2, and certainly continues to be true today. Quick herds are kind of a new component on this a little bit in Game 3, but like 862 for a unit that costs, what, 350 points? Incredible value, even against an unarmored faction, right? Like, a lot of people would think, oh, Squig herds are anti-armor unit, but in general, they're just good damage dealers against infantry, and even against a faction that has lighter armor, like the Wood Elves, can be quite effective. The Wood Elves just low HP pools overall on their units, especially their infantry, do make them somewhat vulnerable to Squigs, and I don't know that any of the infantry pays for itself here. The Deepwood Scouts also, as a result, kind of get run down, and while I love some Sisters of Thorn, I think ultimately didn't have enough to hold back the Greenskins cavalry, and that's something you need to be extremely aware of in this matchup. Greenskins, although you may not think of them as a cavalry faction, they actually have one of the best varieties of heavy and light cavalry, skirmish cavalry, poison, armor piercing. They have a lot going for them, and again, the Squigs add sort of another kind of anti-infantry component to that. They're not quite as fast as most cavalry, but faster than most infantry, so interesting. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.